Hello, good morning, and welcome everybody. Yes, we're back here in the studio for another exciting webinar this morning with a special guest, which we will introduce to you very, very shortly. For those that have not joined us in the past, I'm David Bell. I'm the entrepreneur in residence at Anglo Ruskin University, but also a business owner, like many of you young entrepreneurs that are looking to start your journey. And I'm joined, as always, with my co-host, Professor Alan Barrell.
Hi there, everybody. Great to be with you, and looking forward to another exciting discussion. Are we at kick off, David?
Yeah, sorry, for some reason I disappeared, Alan. I'm back. Over to you to say hello and introduce yourself and kind of set the scene for this morning.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I'm so pleased to be with you all today, introducing someone that I've known since pretty well the start of his entrepreneurial journey. When I first met him, he was a very, very clever PhD. He'll tell you about the subject that he studied. And it was at the Judge Business School. He'll tell you exactly when. It was many years ago. Well, not that many, but a few years ago. And I had the privilege of working with Jeremy. It was one of a batch. I think it was the first batch of entrepreneurs coming through what became the Judge Accelerator, wasn't it, Jeremy?
I think it was one of definitely the first or second or third, but
Yeah.
very early batch.
Jeremy will tell you about the business that we worked on. I've supported him in getting himself prepared for presentation, fundraising, and all that stuff. He had one or two exciting moments, I'm sure, before that he'll tell you about. But I think the right thing to do is to introduce a very special entrepreneur, Jeremy, who I admire. Like most entrepreneurs, there's more than a touch of craziness about him, but we love crazy people. The crazy ones are the ones that change the world. So, Jeremy, the platform is yours. Give them your story of your amazing journey.
Thank you so much, Alan, David. Thank you so much. So obviously no pressure, actually. Just to reinforce what Alan was saying in terms of craziness. Actually, David, I don't know if you could pull up briefly slide 4. Actually, this was some of the craziness, actually. So I think just sort of giving a bit of context. 9. If we go to number 4, actually, David, let's start with the crazy one. So there we go. So that is me a few crazy years before. This is part of my research, part of my PhD, actually, and I'm holding it's essentially a clock, a time machine, but part of the research. So we know I was predominantly redefining time. So just put that in context. You know, time watch type thing anyway. So we had a new type of molecular atomic clock. Actually, that was the research I was busy with, and then we
doesn't
spun
look
it
old
out.
enough in that. Jeremy, you don't look old enough in that picture. You don't look old enough to be a PhD in that picture. Are you sure that wasn't your 11 plus?
That was my GCSEs, wasn't it? Thank you, Alan. It was embarrassing. I got ID'd. I got continuously ID'd, actually. So yeah. Don't go and drink beer or alcohol when you're doing your PhD, basically. But that was just after my PhD, Alan. Thank you very much. Very, very flattering. But anyway, just to sort of build on the point about the craziness. So it was a brave ambition, going around the world saying, we have better, more accurate, more auditable time, basically. But that was one of the businesses, and then it got acquired, so we sold the company eventually, and it wasn't a very good exit. But this is just some of the craziness I got involved with, and dare I say, a lot of the David, go, yes, sir.
What did out of interest? What did this do? I mean, was this Back to the Future? Was this the flux capacitor? Was this kind of moving us back in time and into the future? Tell us a little bit about what this OptiSync did.
OptiSync did. Back to the Future. I love that analogy, David. So, it was a very accurate clock. So, bit of technical gibberish here. Usually, time is defined by your watch, your GPS, or your computer network. But it traces back to atomic clocks. What we had here, what I was holding, was a much better atomic clock, and it was a molecular optical clock, but it was a much better version of a atomic clock, David. So a cheaper, faster, better atomic clock. That's what it was in a nutshell. And then, by the way, use cases, defense, military, telecommunication, finance, quite a few use cases where independent auditable time matters. So I think that's the context. David, does that make sense? Is that sort of getting across about what it was? It was a very good, accurate clock, basically. That's what it was That's what I was working on. So that was
Jeremy,
yeah.
remind us, what was your PhD? What was your PhD subject? Was it maths?
No, well, it was theoretical. It was laser physics, quantum mechanics. So quite theoretical, Alan. Very, very numerical. And then
Yeah.
one of the use cases of this physics quantum mechanics was actually this clock, essentially. So that's what came out of it. So long time ago, that Alan, long time ago. So I think just putting it in context.
Yeah.
So, David, any more questions? You still look a bit perplexed, actually. So yes, just smaller, better, faster, cheaper.
No. I'm having connectivity problems my end. So I keep dropping out the studio and coming back. Nothing anyone can solve unless you can take us back in time to fix that problem.
Back into the future.
I will fix my jittery connection somehow in a moment. But this is fascinating stuff. But look,
we lost your voice, David.
And then
we've lost your sound, David. We can't hear you, David.
Oh, it's technology, Alan. So I think David will pop back in a second.
Well,
but anyway,
you carry on with your story, Jeremy.
No,
I can hear you.
So that's context. Hopefully that's working, isn't it, Alan? So that's the context about what it was in terms of PhD. So just sort of fast forwarding slightly. So company was spun out, got some funding, venture capital funding, everything else. Eventually we sold the technology. It wasn't a very good sale, by the way, but the technology got acquired. So that's an example of entrepreneurship, and that's what we like doing around here.
Take this slide down now, David. Can you take the slide down? He's obviously gone, so you're going to carry on. Keep going,
just
Jeremy.
both of us, Alan. It's both of us, Alan. Don't worry, we're in good company here. So that was, and I think a bit of context. When Cambridge Story, Alan, you've done many of them. Starting new technology companies, usually quite innovative technology companies, and then I guess, or you grow the company, Alan, or you get acquired. Really, I think realistically that they're the two possibilities in terms of what we are. So that was one of my story on that one. And then after that, David's back again. There we go. So if you could
try again.
If you could put slide number 9 up, David. Actually,
slide out.
Yeah, we can take it away.
Take the slide out now.
Let's try it.
There we go.
This will be more stable. There we go.
More stable. Right. Yeah. So that's fast forwarding. So that's me a bit older there. Still look a bit young actually, but that is. So I'm currently running a company called AlgoDynamix. We'll definitely talk about that. It's very much AI based, artificial intelligence, and it is once again it's a bit technical, David. So Alan, so ask questions. It is forecasting. It's looking into the future, but it's based on behavioral finance, behavioral economics. So the way people behave, I always find very fascinating because what people say they're doing and what they're actually doing is usually different. And most of the time, people are not very rational. They are not rational. We are not rational human beings. We like to believe that, if it's, if A is bigger than B, or if B's got more money, we'll go after B. It's not the case. So I think taking into account the human irrationalities. So I think that's the current company. And that's what we're using. We are using AI and data and forecasting. So I'll delve into that one in a second. So David, Alan, does that make sense? So forecasting based on human emotional irrationality. That's what we're doing at AlgoDynamix. Because as I said, the humans have a knack of behaving in a very strange way sometimes. Could be elections, could be political, could be finance.
Well, let's not go down the route of political. We'll be opening a can of worms. Now, what I was saying before I got disconnected, I think the stability is here now. If anyone has a question, we've got a load of people tuning in this morning. You can pop it into the chat and it'll fire into the studio, just like a few people have done already this morning. Yes, so Al-Hassan, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Part of the Cambridge Think Big pitching competition in the past. We've got Francis here joining from Invest Hong Kong in London. Ooh. Hello and welcome and thank you for joining us. And Ono joining from London as well. You're welcome. It's our pleasure to organise this and have along such great guests in the studio with us. So if you want to put your question into the chat here for Jeremy, maybe around time or around AI and forecasting, then please do them. Well, Jeremy will do his best to try and answer some of those questions. But Jeremy, to kind of get the questions going, AI, it's a hot potato now. It's a topic that every time I sit down in a meeting, it's a conversation that is on the table every single time. So tell us a little bit how you are using AI for forecasting. What is it you're doing? How are you utilizing the benefits of these new advanced digital tools?
Thank you. Thank you, David. So first things first, people always get a bit surprised, but these tools, these AI, these algorithms, David, they've been with us for a very, very long time. People sometimes forget that. I'll show a slide. Actually, David, if you can bring up maybe a slide 16, actually. This is a bit of a technical slide, but, this is just to sort of show that this AI has been around for a very, very long time. Some of this math, if we go to slide 16, actually, just hovering on that one. So there we go. So don't want to go into details. It's all a bit technical, but decision trees have been with us for at least a century. Bayesian mathematics, Cambridge, by the way, a few hundred years old. So David, Alan, don't get. I always tell people, do not get sort of bamboozled or sidetracked by modern innovation. It's been around a very, very long time. Hidden Markov, 1960s technology. So I think always thought, oh my God, it's new, it's innovative. It's like, well, actually, no, I'm sorry. It's been, it's sort of. I think just a bit of context here, but details matter. So, David, when somebody says, "Oh, it's AI," ask that question. You don't have to be a mathematician, but what is it? What's the AI? Which one is it? Is it neural networks or genetic, whatever? Just have that conversation. And just examples today. The generative stuff, the language models tends to be mostly neural network based, actually, neural network and unsupervised. So just sort of getting a bit of context here. So David, answering your question, yes, it's AI, but it's details matter about what the AI is and how it works. So in our case, it's unsupervised, which is a bit of a buzzword again, David, but essentially, we are not looking at historical data. We are not relying on historical data, because the tendency with most systems, David, Alan, is what happened yesterday, what happened the week before, which doesn't always help with forecasting. David's also grinning there, basically, because what happened last time, especially with geopolitics and elections, it's probably not going to happen again. So I'm just being a bit cautious about excessive models and overfitting data. So I think I just want to be clear on that one. So once again, David, Alan, just a bit of context. AI has been around a long time. Details matter. Using past historical knowledge is usually a bit dangerous, especially in finance, in politics, because things do change, actually. So I think, once again, David, I'm trying not to open the can of worms here, but
no, and I get that. There's another question. I think you've answered it here, but thank you very much, Khalid. There, hi, and thank you for your time. You're welcome, of course. What machine learning is being utilised particularly? And I think you've just tapped on that, but it's a good question. Maybe you can open that can of worms a little bit more.
Let's go to that one. What machine learning? So if we go to slide 20, good questions, by the way, keep it coming. If we go to slide 22, which is the technical question, the technical answer about the clustering. So that's the slide. There we go. So first things first, data matters. Your first question with any AI machine learning model should be, what's the data? Where's the data? So in our case, it's stock market order flow. So I'll just expand out a bit more. So we're connecting to the stock exchanges, crypto exchanges, and we're looking at all the transactions, David and Alan, every single transaction in real time. So that's the input data. That's where we get the input data from. And by the way, Richard got a Nobel Prize for this. He's from Chicago, not from Cambridge, by the way, but Richard got a behavioral economics Nobel Prize for that one. If we can go to the next slide, David. So, we're gathering all the data, all the order flow, and then we can group them together. The technology, so answering the question, it's unsupervised and it's an information. So it's an entropy clustering algorithm. So big words again, but we're clustering. We're grouping together similar transactions, similar order flows, and this is a information entropy. This is 1960s technology, by the way, David, Alan. This has been around a long time, but it's very difficult to build. So even though the technology has been around, trying to build it in real time with the IT, it's been very challenging. So the challenge is not it's not a black box, it's transparent, it's well documented. But the challenge is building it in real time. That's what we do. Well, we've cracked that nut, as they say. So there we go. So hopefully that's answering the question, actually. So David, that question was from, who was it from? I think Khalid was asking, wasn't it? Yeah, so he was asking about the type. So it's a entropy. So it's an entropy clustering machine learning algorithms. That's what we do. As I said, well documented, not new, just building it stuff. So that's it.
Yeah. So just out of interest, with the advancement in AI, and you're right, it's been around for a long time, but obviously since, the OpenAI, ChatGPT kind of come around a few years ago, it's been really brought to the surface. That's why it's a hot topic. Everyone's talking about it. But these tools are getting smarter. They are getting cleverer. I think they say now that AI from language models up to about a PhD level. That's where they believe it now situates. It's gone past the kind of the GCSE, past A levels, and it's coming up, it's getting cleverer and smarter. Do you think? Again, this is not to kind of delve too much into this, but do you think that these tools are going to allow to do what you're doing by using these AI tools that are available off the shelf today? Maybe not now, but in maybe months or a couple of years' time. Do you think anyone will be able to use these tools to do what you're doing?
Well, they can use our tools, obviously, David. I think it's available. It's a really good question, David. And once again, I've prepared one or two slides here. If we go to slide 12, please, because you mentioned the Gen AI, the language models, which are great, by the way. We use them for press releases and marketing. They're great language models. They're not very good at maths, and they're becoming better. They're improving, but this was a while back, by the way. It's updated, but so David, I don't know if you can see that. I'll just read it. So if it takes 3 towels, so imagine you've got 3 towels on a washing line, and it takes takes 3 hours. So 3 towels take 3 hours. How long does it take 1 towel? So David, Alan, do you want to try and guess? We got 3 towels, 3 hours. How long does it take one?
It's going to take 3 hours.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Alan, any other views? Any other answers? We've got 3 towels. 3 hours?
No.
3 hours. So thank you very much.
Getting at, though, yeah.
And if we go to the next slide, Dave, I didn't plant this slide. We didn't plant the question. This is all random. So a long text, but it's come up with a very complicated scientific answer. Yada blah blah blah. But it thinks it's going to take 1 hour because in dare I say, in conventional popular wisdom type thing, it must be 1 hour. So just careful, David. It can sound convincing. It's very good at marketing. It's very good. Doesn't mean it's scientifically correct. So I just want to sort of caution you against about over reliance on language models, right? So I think that's always my opening. By the way, it's been fixed, by the way, but there's other mathematical problems that we've been asking, and it's just wrong, basically. So with caution, David. With caution, that's what I'm saying. Answering your question about is AI?
But Jeremy, you've spoken about human behavior.
Yeah,
and that's where I was at a conference recently on AI, and there was this great discussion about, so what about feelings? What about emotions? What about human behavior? And there were all sorts of different views and answers about that, because that's a pretty interesting area. And of course, it gets you into all the stuff of ethics and morals and rights and wrongs and so on and so forth. And what always I found very fascinating about your work with AlgoDynamix, because you're not many people doing what you're doing. You are predicting what people might do. And that to me is, machines might help a bit with that, but it's very interesting to explore a bit further how you deal with that.
Lovely question. Lovely question, by the way. So just, details matter here. It's behavioral. So we're looking in detail at how people are behaving in finance. So it is behavior economics. And Alan, there's a sort of assumption here that if people start behaving in a certain way, they'll likely continue to behave in a certain way. And on top of that, there's what we call the crowding effect. So it's very difficult to explain. It's a human psychology thing. Once certain people start behaving in a certain way, it's very likely that other people will tag on. And there's a term for this in psychology, which unfortunately is not my forte, but I think there's David, is it social influence? I don't know. There's a term for that, isn't there? When people sort of tag
social
along.
Influence would be absolutely perfect way of explaining it, definitely.
Yeah, social influence. So it's
I was thinking of my work in the technology sector, where we had that amazing dot-com boom when dot-com became new and everyone wanted it, and all the young fund managers rushed into it. They couldn't invest in enough of it. And of course, a lot of it had no substance. But when the dot-com boom collapsed, it took the whole technology sector down with it too. So booms and busts. And was why I got so interested when you first mentioned your AlgoDynamix company to me, because it seemed to be you might be onto something where you could be an early alerter of those kinds of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
was I right? I hope so.
You are right. And by the way, this has not been prepared. Everybody in the audience, we have not. It is unscripted, no, David. Unscripted. So if we go to slide 6, once again, this is unscripted. Yeah. Alan, the biggest traction we're seeing with AlgoDynamix, right? The day job, it's the risk side. So this is from our platform. It's the bust, Alan. It's the downside, because people are. I think there's another psychology fact here. People are much more concerned about losses. Loss aversion, somebody else, Kalman got his PhD for that. So helping people, tell them, losses ahead type thing, very, very valuable, possibly even more valuable than the upside. Because once again, the avoidance, once again, I don't know what the exact psychology terms are, but, loss aversion is so high, actually. So, Alan, thank you to the point, our risk product, our downside forecasting product, doing extremely well for exactly those reasons. Loss aversion is something people want to avoid, actually. So, but you talk to people, Alan, you find out what really sort of what makes them going, actually, and you find out sleeping at night is important. A good night's sleep, being able to relax, that is really important. So I think just
more questions are coming into the studio.
Brilliant.
We've got another question here. Can I pop this one up on the screen? So this is from Robert or Bob.
Bob. Yes, good.
So legacy AI. At what point does AI moves to a legacy state with limited residue use and capability?
Whoa.
There's one to get you thinking on a Thursday lunchtime.
Go, Bob. Actually, I think what maybe I'm second guessing here, but Bob might be. It's a bit like the internet these days, or the broadband, or water, electricity. At some point it's just there. We got the internet, we assume it's just there, basically. Well, I think in some use cases AI is already in the background. If that is your question, basically, in terms of recommendations and searches, for instance, it's there, but it's in the background. So I would say use case by use case, if it's at the forefront or it's at the background. And I suspect all of us are using much more AI than we actually think, because it's just in the background. Navigation, communication. These events today, advertising. So it's all happening in the background. So, but occasionally new stuff comes up. So use case by use case, Bob. I think that's my shorter answer. I know, Alan, David, any other thoughts about AI becoming sort of background at some point, because it's a very
coming from a technology background, I have an opinion, because we can't see the future, or we can use your time clock maybe, but I don't know what that future really looks like, no more than anyone else does. But I do think AI is going to become smarter and clever. It's going to be much more embedded in our day-to-day lives. It won't be a case, I choose to use it or not use it. It will just be part of everything we do. So it'll be utilized in so many background things, from media to driving our cars to opening our front doors. And I do believe, and people who have opinions around this, but in the next 4 to 5 years, I think we're going to see AI become conscious, and then it's going to be a very different place. And will they walk the streets with us? Will be the next thing. Will it be a bit like iRobot, having these bots around that are AI driven? I do think we're going in that direction. And whether you're going to embrace it, hate it, love it, is it going to be the next Terminator or Skynet? Hopefully not. I don't think so. I hope we're going to use it for the right reasons, for the right benefits. But it's going to be used in all different backgrounds and walk of life. And obviously, you're showing how we can use it in forecasting. And I think that's a good way, a good demonstration of how AI can be used positively.
Positive. I think, Alan, you brought up the ethics. Yes.
Yeah, when you started the company, though, there was not all this noise that there is today about AI. We know there was AI there, and it's always been there, but it's never been there with the level of interest that is there with it today. And machines and machine learning have helped a lot, and I'm sure you've utilized more and more of AI. But what were the challenges? Because yours is not easy to describe business, is it? It's how was it a struggle to get it to market, to raise money for it, and to get it established? I think people might be interested in some of that.
No, absolutely, Alan. We started doing AI when AI was not trendy, when it was very sorry actually. Absolutely, Alan. Early days, a lot of we had to run workshops, we had to do education, we had to sort of literally get people up to speed about what is clustering, what is data, what is economics, what is behavioral actually, and then got there, sold to the big banks. That was good business, and then bit more evolution of business model, because it's both, Alan. It's technology obviously, but then getting that product market fit, segmentation, evolution. It's an ongoing, it's a moving target. Pandemic was interesting actually. I'll bring it up briefly because that was another pivot. So we started off with a broad AI clustering, even used for medical use cases. There was a bit more big banking,
Yes.
finance use cases, defense use case, and then post-pandemic it's been more and more crypto actually. So that's been very sort of we're following the market trends, Alan. We're seeing where there's bigger demand, because it's universal.
But I remember,
yeah.
I remember from my own experience how, if your customers include people like big banks, they're full of middle managers who think they know everything, and they are full of people who might be called the research department and how to do things better, and they are not always very friendly to upstarts that come in and say, we've got something that you haven't got and you can't do. And their boss says, what the hell have you been doing for the last 3 years on your 100 grand a year or whatever it is they earn? It's very difficult to penetrate large companies, isn't it, with established middle management?
Absolutely, Alan. And it's a question for the entrepreneurs too
That
about
must have been a struggle for you.
it's maybe just back to business planning. Do you necessarily want to sell? We got the big banks, we sold to some of the big banks. Challenging sales cycle, Alan, I agree, but for the entrepreneurs, and I'm talking to myself here definitely, what's the business use case? Demonstrate ROI, demonstrate value, demonstrate easy integration. You can have those conversations with the, dare I say, the business crowd. Technology innovation, I mean, Alan, it's exciting obviously, but it doesn't sell. It might get you the first meeting if you're lucky. It's not going to get you through the payments. It's not going to get just understanding where the value add is and how they're going to use it tomorrow morning. That's been good. One big learning actually from the big banks especially, data is always problematic. So if you're doing any type of data or AI business, expecting customers to hand you over their data is very unrealistic. And it's true for big banks, it's true for most organizations. If your pitch is, we need your data, that is not a good pitch. So just keep that in mind. If you come with your own data and you focus on the end result and the ease of use and the plug-in, that's a much better approach than saying, give us your data, otherwise we can't do anything. So yeah, just thinking about it, Alan, make it easy, make it a no-brainer. And on that note, I mean, they'll take the call, they'll take the meetings, especially this bunch of Cambridge PhDs, right? They was like, okay, fine. Well, worst things worse, we'll have 10 minutes of entertainment. So I think just being pragmatic about it. So that's me. But yeah, good questions, Alan.
Yeah.
Sales cycle can be tough, especially with large.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
I do notice, Jeremy. Yeah. I'm on your mailing list, so I do notice that you do an awful lot of online. What I would say must be education and marketing. You're doing almost a seminar of your own almost every week. I see something. That's a big part of the business. And how many of you are there now in the business, Jeremy?
Oh, good question, actually. So first things first, digital marketing, a bit like today, David. Absolutely. There's a interesting statistic. So we all got one of these phone thingies, right? So on WhatsApp, I've just taken WhatsApp as an example. I think it's about 2 billion. So 2 billion active users per month on WhatsApp. So we've got a third of the world population is on WhatsApp. So keep this in mind. So I mean, I love conferences, I love going to events, but if you can get 2 billion people on a device, I think you should think about it. And same online, by the way. I mean, I don't know, Dave, we've probably got hundreds, or I don't know what the numbers are today, actually, but it is so much more powerful. So, digital first. I'm a big believer, and God forbid, I hope we don't have another pandemic or anything similar. But, if we're back to pandemic, we need to be ready, so to speak, right, in terms of digital. So I think that's the question. So, Alan, second question. So, global team, Canada, a lot in UK. Germany, Balkans too, actually. So 8 people total. So that's where we are. And then there's a team in California.
You have an original partner, though, don't you?
Oh, Wei, yes. Technical co-founder, Big Banking.
Wei,
so Wei Tio.
Is he Taiwanese or Chinese? Or one of the two, I know.
Malaysian, Alan, Malaysian.
Malaysian. Oh, well, I got it wrong.
Actually,
But he's Asian, yes.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
He's been with you since those difficult early days, yeah?
Very extremely knowledgeable. So he did all the big banks, by the way. Alan, you asking about the big banks. So he was doing the risk systems at Goldman Sachs and Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and everything else. And I mean, we love big banks, but at some point you may not want a full-time, long-term career at a big bank, basically. So and we met via the business school, right? Accelerate Cambridge, and the rest is history, as they say, Alan. But I think good point too about getting your team right, getting your co-founders. I know there's probably quite a few entrepreneurs. It's team. And one of your other questions, Alan, about we got some funding early on, a bit of venture capital too early on. It's entirely based on the team, by the way. Team. The technology wasn't particularly mature. It wasn't there yet. Customers were not defined, but they thought that the team had the growth and the ambition and the dynamics. So that's how we got the funding. So funding is a different story, by the way. But just keep this in mind that we're first and foremost in the people business. Everyone's in the people business.
That early funding was business angels, wasn't it?
Business angels, a few Cambridge angels, Amadeus. So the local venture capitalists here in Cambridge also joined the round. So yeah, early stage funding. And then since then, it's been mostly customers. We're doing a small funding round now, but it's been customers, Alan, just being pragmatic about, what do you want? How much are you going to pay for it? And does it fit a business need, actually? So we've gone a bit different, Alan. We haven't gone sort of, Series C, Series D, Series F funding. That wasn't our intention. So that's
in some of the conferences we've done together, Jeremy. You've had a lot of questions and done a lot of discussion about cryptocurrency.
Oh yes.
And I know you're very strong on crypto, which is still a bit of a mystery to me. So you might like to. Jeremy seems to know how it works, or seems to. He gets lots of questions. Cryptocurrency, is it for real? Is it going? Is it staying? Is it what it might be?
Good one, Alan. Just taking a step back, I probably don't know all the blockchain details. It's an important one. I'll mention it. Depending which country, Alan, which jurisdiction, it's not always a currency. So in the UK, it's an asset. In the US, I think some of it is a commodity, legally speaking. In Hong Kong, it is a currency. So depending which jurisdiction, which regulators, it's a different type of asset class. So, Alan, so answering your question, I'm not sure I can actually. I'm not sure I'm the blockchain crypto expert. The best quote was from President Barack Obama. It's a bit like having a Swiss bank account in your pocket. And I absolutely love that analogy because once again, it's your device. It's your keys, your ledger, your control type thing. There's zero middle. There is no central bank. There is no sort of dare I say regulator. So it's entirely point to point, Alan. So I can send you my crypto from my wallet phone to your crypto wallet phone, Alan, and there'll be no bank. There'll be no intermediary. There'll be no clearinghouse. There'll be absolutely nothing. It'll be a direct point to point transaction, and it's bits, Alan. It's numbers on a chain database. We don't have to get into that, but it's direct transfer, Alan. I think that's the best way to.
That's why governments don't like it, because they can't track it. They can't get their little slice of the cake, or their big slice of the cake.
The slice. Well, nobody can get the slice. The banks neither, actually. David, the irony, and it's turning into a crypto talk, because it's digital and because it's on a ledger, a database. It's actually the most transparent thing out there. So in terms of money laundering and tracking and transfers, it is very, very easy. Trying to track a suitcase full of stolen money is actually quite difficult, Alan. Trying to crack crypto across a blockchain is very, very easy because it's digital. So there's always a misunderstanding about, oh my god, it's not, it's opaque. It's like, well, no. Anyway, long borderline political here, David. So maybe not go down that route here, but yes.
Let's explore. We've got people joining us that are probably on their early days, or maybe think an idea, possibly, maybe not even started a business, or they've started their business, but they're still a very young age of taking their business. Maybe we've got some more established. Let's talk about challenges and successes. One I love to explore. When you started your business, what were some of the challenges that you saw? And then tell us about some of the successes where you had times to celebrate and, maybe let your hair down and open a bottle of something sparkly to celebrate with the team. What did that journey look like? Give us a couple of examples of the tough times and the good times.
Thank you, David. So absolutely celebrate. Everyone celebrate, even if it's a small win. Celebrate with your team. Absolutely, I think that's my immediate thing. Actually, it is difficult, it is a challenge, and having people like Alan around, having a stronger support network of people who believe in you, very, very important, David. Very extremely important, actually, because it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. You're going to have rough days. I think just making sure you're not alone, actually, and then something else which is sometimes a bit counterintuitive. It's a bit delicate, but I'll put it out there anyway. You may or may not always get the best support from your immediate friends or family, and that's difficult sometimes. Because you're going on a wild journey. You probably had a proper job, dare I say, before that. Banking or whatever, academia, research, actually. So that's why it's even more important to build your support network. And great. Cambridge is very rich, actually. Anglia Ruskin, well support. There's lots and lots of different organizations, accelerators, mentors, everything else. So just make sure you're part of that. And I always tell people, which is counterintuitive, but we're on the call anyway. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. It is not for everyone. Have a think about it. Have a good, strong think about it. And well, anyway, think about it again. There we go. That's probably what I want to say about that one. But yeah, does that make sense, David? Yeah, celebrate. Absolutely, celebrate.
Absolutely.
Celebrate,
and I totally agree with you. Entrepreneurship's not for everybody. Running a business is not for everybody.
No.
Quite often, I work with businesses, and day one they start, and I work with them, and I say, "Why are you setting up your own business?" I want more time, more freedom, and hopefully I'm going to earn more money. A year later,
not good. No, David, that's not.
I know, but and a year later, I say to him, "So how's things going?" I'm working harder than I've ever had. I've got less time than I've ever had, and I'm earning less money. Of course, that does hopefully ripple around, and at some point, it does go in a positive direction. But it is challenging. I think it's very challenging to start a business in today's economic markets. We've got a lot more red tape around us. Times are very challenging for lots of people. And if you can make it through this time, by the way, I think you will excel and do extremely well. So there's a bit of juggling, a bit of plate spinning required to build success.
It takes longer. I think there's some statistics out there that if you start and build your business during tough times, probably stronger, better, longer lasting. You've got resilience from day one, right? So I think it's as opposed to sort of starting a .com business at the peak of the .com. So I think just context, timing matters, actually. And then actually on that note too, there's an element of luck. There's timing and luck. There's things out of your control, David. You can best team, best technology, best everything, and things just possibly don't work out, actually, which is just sad reality, right? It's definitely a gamble you're doing here, right? With starting your business. So there we go. So
a little bit of time left on the clock. Top tips. One of the things I love to ask all our guests. Not so much you've got the t-shirt, the mug, and the hat, but you've gone through, you've lived through some of these challenges and some of these successes. But if you could go back and tell your younger self, or if you were mentoring and looking, supporting someone else, what would be your biggest top tip for them about business in general? Or it could be something very specific in your industry sector. Your top tip bit of advice that you would give.
Good one. Nice one, David. It's a bit what we're doing now, and I think what's already happening. It's network. I think your what's this quote about your net worth is your network or something like that. Essentially, it's people around you. As I said, with digital technologies, we are so blessed. So go out there, build it out, make sure you got everybody, and non-transactional, by the way. It's not a transactional thing. It's just, and I think Alan's been very good at this. He's been very modest, actually, but over the decades. The depth and the breadth of the relationships and the contacts globally, I think that makes such a difference. So there we go. Network. We're people. We're sociable creatures. We work best in social environments and team environments. That's probably my top tip, and not just for business, by the way, David. I think for everything in life. I think just having out there, so
I think also, Jeremy, the role of the mentor, the real mentor. I mean, there's a big difference between coaching and skills training and mentoring. I mean, you know, some of the people I've been working with. I've been chairman of companies where, in this place where I live, on certain days, I had to spend 2 or 3 hours with a young CEO who was having real serious problems that weren't really to do with capability, but they were to do with other issues, human issues, and we're all human beings. So a mentor that is available when needed. Mentoring isn't something you do every day or you have every week or month, but the mentor needs to be there, doesn't he or she, when really the issues are with you. And I mean, I've enjoyed doing it, actually, because it's so interesting sometimes where two brains put together can work out the answer, or at least an answer to a dilemma that one was not able to do. It's a very interesting life to have had the privilege of mentoring so many crazy people like you.
You've seen a lot, Alan. I'm sure you've seen everything on the scale, haven't you? So I think very actually. But yeah, I think good topic actually. So Alan, I guess maybe just throwing the question back to you, because once again you've seen a lot. You've been there. Your one biggest tip in terms of business, Alan? Anything you want to share with us? Because once again you've seen a lot. You've done a lot. What's your one biggest takeaway message you want to share with the people today?
Well, the biggest issue in my life in getting anything done is relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
And understanding other people, and what makes them tick, and communicating clearly and transparently. I think relational behavior is my big thing. And when I look at what's happened in Cambridge and how the ecosystem's developed here, it's because of the way people are spending more time thinking about each other and each other's needs and relating to each other. And out of it comes a common purpose, and an understanding. And I suppose if you don't have the ability to deal with relationships, I don't see how you're going to build a team or even build a successful company for very long. Absolutely. So, and don't assume that you know what other people feel and think. And in relationships, feelings are often the most important facts of all. And people don't always express them because they don't like to. So working for 30 years in China, people say to me, well, you never learned the language. No, I didn't. Thank goodness I've got lots of Chinese colleagues, friends, and students that speak good English. But I have tried very hard to understand how Chinese people might think a bit differently than me and why, and see whether I could fit my thoughts into the way they think. So it's been fascinating. But relationships, to me, are the heart of progress, making things happen.
Wow, brilliant. Okay, that's nothing to add. There's no way I'm going to add anything to that, actually, David. I think Alan sort of summarized everything very nicely.
I think Alan has summarized it perfectly. Absolutely. Okay. I totally agree with both of you. Networking, relationship building, developing those relationships as well, and maintaining them, I think, are important. A couple of things I'd throw in the mix for those that are on their journey. Know your numbers. You don't have to be an accountant, but just know what those numbers mean and what that could be for the future, or how you invest in the growth of the business. If you don't understand what you're doing on a day-to-day basis or week to week, month to month, you can't make informed decisions. So I think that's very important. Just keep on top of the figures. Know what's happening within your four walls. Be responsible at the end of the day. If you are the director or majority shareholder, a lot of that's going to sit on your shoulders. So you need to be in a position to make informed decisions. And then the other one I kind of put into the mix is time. We are all very time poor because there's so much going on in our lives, and don't let the business swamp your whole life. I mean, it's an important factor. Very early stage startups, we put a lot of time in And if you've got a family, that can have a ripple effect. So we've all got the same 86,400 seconds every day. How we use those is up to you as an individual. Invest that time into your business, into your personal life, your family life. Don't forget to do fun stuff as well. Don't become, my dad always said to me, too much work made Jack a dull boy. And I always listen to that and think about that. You've got to have a balance. So work hard, play hard, enjoy your life. We don't know, and it's a bit morbid, we don't know when that last second will be. So make the most of it.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah, I do. I mean, networks are so important. Jeremy, you know a young lady that I know. Well, she's middle-aged lady now, Ting Chang, St. John's Innovation Centre, Crayfish, the Chinese support company. Now, I helped her when she started her business, and I've worked with her over the years. I haven't seen her for quite a long time. And then she came to me with something this year, and I'm doing some work with her. And she said to me the other day, do you realize we met 27 years ago? I thought, goodness me, it doesn't look a bit like that. She doesn't look a bit that old. I'm sure I do. But enduring relationships, if they really are strong, can be so valuable, because what she introduced me to was a very important Chinese businessman who's got twin Chinese sons who are studying over here, and I'm now helping them out. But their father's got a very interesting international intellectual property business, which is of great interest to me. So sometimes investing in networks and other people does take a lot of your time and energy, and it doesn't always have an immediate return. The return can be like any other kind of return. It can be long time coming. So I'm so pleased that I have met so many wonderful people, and so many of them still bother to connect with me. It's great.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so we're back to people. We're people. I think that seems to be the best conclusion. Yes.
As you said, Jeremy, it's all about people. People buy people. People don't always buy a product or a service or a solution. They buy the person that sits behind it. So, Jeremy, we're coming to the end of this afternoon's webinar. I'm going to hand over to you just for any final words, any wisdom you'd like to wrap up on and share with our listeners and viewers this afternoon.
Well, actually, if I could, David, if you go to slide 36, once again, this was not prepared. This was, but it's towards the end, basically. I think building on 36, building on the theme, connect. So there'll be a little barcode. Get me on LinkedIn or send me an email or whatever. Join the mailing list. I think that's build up that network, build up the digital network. Wonderful to be on these sort of events. So thank you, David. Thank you, Alan. I think it's important to sort of get everybody, connected and online. So no more words of wisdom. I think, Alan, David, I mean, based on what I've heard from you two today, I don't feel I've got much to add other than reach out, connect. I'm going to finish on those words. So there we go.
Yeah, please do connect with Jeremy. A great source of knowledge, and networking is powerful, as we've just explored as well. And you never know how you might be able to help Jeremy and how he might be able to help you. That's what powerful networks do.
Very good. I'm so pleased you mentioned connectivity too. But before I say a few final words, something happened, David, at the beginning of this session that astonished me. A name came on the screen, Francis Trollope. Now, I'm sitting here with a book in my desk, Locating Anthony Trollope. Now, Anthony Trollope was a great literary figure of the 19th century, and my wife, Pamela, is a Trollope expert, and she's written an illustrated biography of Anthony Trollope. And Anthony's mother was Frances Trollope in all those years ago. So I just wonder if Francis Trollope is still online. I'd love to be connected with you. I don't have an email. My email is alan@alanbarrell.com. My wife would really be interested to know that I've been communicating today with a Francis Trollope in London. It's hard to believe. So I'm hoping I've caught you in time, Francis, if you're still there. Can you signal if you're still there?
We have about a delay, Alan, about 15 seconds, so we'll have to wait to see.
We have to wait, actually.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
reiterating the power of online and the power of networking, connecting. Thank you, Alan. If that wasn't a good case study, I don't know what is a good case study here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that any final words, Craig Abbott, Human Factors Prevail, 1,000 flowers bloom. Yes, very good. We love that. Yes.
Thank you, Craig, for that
Human
comment.
factors are at the heart of everything.
And here you are,
Francis
Alan.
Trollope.
Here is your response. Alan, we'll connect. I'm here. So
Wow.
if you are the Francis Trollope, you've just made Alan's day.
Well, Francis Trollope, I'm so pleased to meet. My life, you know, it was once said, I think, by Diana, there's always been 3 people in this marriage. There's always been 3 people in mine, and the other guy is Anthony Trollope. But and I love the work too. So I must connect with you, Francis, and find out if there is a connection, and if indeed there's a connection with Joanna, of course, who is also related. Joanna Trollope, very famous writer now. It's astonishing how communication and human relationships can make such a difference. It's been great to see you again, Jeremy. I think I'm going to see you. I'm going to see you later in the year at one of our events.
There's Ignite. I think Ignite next week. I don't know if you're involved with that one actually, but there's always stuff going on in Cambridge.
It might be. It might be. Yeah, Jeremy loves our executives from Hong Kong. He gives them all sorts of challenges if he comes and gives a talk to them. But connectivity and connectedness, and another word for those of you that haven't heard it from me before, connectricity, connectedness with energy. Plug in at the mains, because being connected is only helpful if you put energy into making the relationships work. And that's something I've learned through the whole of my life. So it's been great. Wonderful audience today. Thank you for your participation.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. We're going to end it there because I think connectricity is the point that we say get connected and make it powerful. Thank you very much to my co-host, Professor Alan Barrell. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming along and sharing some of your journey and story. And I look forward, because we've not met in person. Hopefully, when I'm next in Cambridge, we can enjoy a cup of coffee or maybe something a little bit stronger. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're back next month with more exciting guests. Until then, it's bye-bye.
Bye.